Welcome to the AIX podcast. This is, in fact, our maiden AIX podcast. I'm Charles Epstein, and joining me is my associate and co-conspirator, Bob Pulver. Hey, Bob.
How's it going, Charles?
Going well. It's going well. Very exciting. This is our first time out, hopefully the first of many. A few words on what it is we're looking to do on the AIX podcast. Bob and I will be engaging with leading voices on the new future of work, the one that will be increasingly reliant on artificial intelligence to drive innovation and growth, not to mention all the pesky day-to-day tasks, business decisions, and people decisions that make organizations go. We'll be talking with broad cross-section of technologists, business leaders, and practitioners from all sectors and from organizations of all sizes about the challenges and opportunities AI presents and how they're using AI to positively transform the way they work. We hope you'll make this a regular stop on your long and winding AI journey. So, Bob, are we ready to do this?
Let's do it.
All right, excellent. So today we'll be discussing an important concept, a set of principles actually guiding the positive use of AI called responsible AI, which is actually one of the main pillars of our mission, AIX's mission, and something we'll get to in a moment. But as this is our first podcast, and many of our listeners are hearing the name AIX for the first time, Bob, maybe we should give people an idea what we're looking to accomplish with this.
Yeah, I think we've got a lot of work to do, just like everyone else in this space, right? But I think my observations, having spent quite a bit of time in this space and certainly in the past watching the sort of prior generation of AI technology make its way into the public consciousness, I have had firsthand experiences of where things can go wrong. And so I think a lot of the things that I've seen need to be talked about in in this new context and the disruption that AI can cause. And so that's why using it properly, I guess, is one way to think about it, is one of the key, pillars that we want people to talk about. But, all of this is grounded in, how you use it and how you're applying it across use cases that will permeate pretty much every part of your organization, up and down and left and right. So really there's a lot to cover. I mean, we should have an endless stream of
Yes.
guests and topics.
Looking forward to unleashing many of the people we know and we're going to get to know on these topics. I think it's going to be really, really fun, certainly enlightening. I would say that one of our chief missions is, as we both know, a lot of noise out there, and just to cut through that and be a place for people where they can get important perspectives, a broad range of perspectives on using AI responsibly and productively. There'll be people who come at this from various perspectives based on what it is they do, their outlook, their goals. And it'll be fascinating to create this platform for those conversations and those constructive debates.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that just as far as our audience, I mean, certainly working in partnership with HR.com, which I know, we'll get into, but I think one of the things to make clear is that, this is not just for people in HR or talent. This is really everyone has, a role to play. Everyone needs to, learn new skills. Everyone needs to learn about what AI can and can't do, or should and shouldn't do, might be more appropriate. So yeah, I think there's a lot of ground to cover. And I think our audience on the podcast and in the AIX community platform, I think there's going to be, tremendous opportunity to have a pretty broad audience. And yeah, I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, for sure. Let's get into responsible AI. Some years back, the magazine The New Republic ran a contest in which the winner had a top, quote, worthwhile Canadian initiative as the most boring headline ever written. I say that with all due respect to our friends from up north, HR.com. Now, I sometimes wonder if there's anything more boring sounding than responsible AI. When I hear responsible AI, I immediately think adult AI, mature, responsible, well-behaved, not a lot of fun. I don't know if we're going to be able to make responsible AI exciting, Bob. I'm not sure if we necessarily have to, but I know we're going to make it interesting and make a case for why it is so essential. And with that, having thrown down that big gauntlet Take it away, Bob Pulver.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is at first cut, I guess I would agree with you. It doesn't sound like the most exciting aspects of AI, but certainly people can appreciate if they've ever, been discriminated against or they've seen the output of some technology that seemed disturbing, creepy, unethical, unfair. There's, pick your negative adjective. But there's certainly, use cases that we've seen in the public sphere that where, people have used technology inappropriately. I mean, even going way beyond, an enterprise use case. I mean, even, mili from a military, perspective, we're talking about, AI in satellites and being able to take over, transmissions or block, GPS access for people in unpleasant situations. So, I mean, there's just really no part of society, the economy, social media, and certainly what we do at work, regardless of what role you have or what industry you're in. There's really no escaping that AI is going to sort of permeate all of these parts of our lives. And so responsible AI is really about being responsible by design. If you're a solution provider or service provider and you're building these tools, you're a developer, how are you obtaining your data through appropriate, means, as opposed to scraping it from somewhere where you really didn't have the rights to do so. So there's all these overlapping, topics that some of us deeper into than others, but there's all kinds of different risks. There's different challenges. There's privacy implications. There's cybersecurity implications. Then there's this overarching theme around trust, right? How do we trust each other? How do we trust the output of some of these AI solutions? And how do we trust the inputs to the AI solutions? Because these solutions didn't create themselves. I mean, the term intelligence itself is a little bit of a misnomer just because of the way it's generating information, at least in the case of generative AI. So there's really a lot to unpack
Yeah,
and
yeah,
understand.
yeah, for sure. And I think one of our parallel missions with advancing all of those principles is being important and being a defining characteristics of responsible AI is the other side of that, never losing sight of some of these outcomes, mitigating bias, more transparency, better or increased inclusion, trust. All of these things, all of those outcomes that come from responsible AI are things you want in creating culture, increasing retention, improving productivity, all of those things.
Yep.
So yeah, when we talk about responsible AI, sometimes people think that a word like ethics is synonymous. Ethics is a component of it, an important component of it, but
Yep.
there are a lot of elements you mentioned. But we want to make sure that people never lose sight. There are also business objectives that correlate to all of those positive outcomes.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. And things are moving really, really fast. I mean, legislation's never gonna, keep up. And obviously there's an ongoing debate about, how much is too much sort of oversight from government agencies, but it doesn't change the fact that somebody, a lot of us need to really be pushing people in the right direction. And because some people just may not be thinking deeply about where the data
Yeah,
came from and who actually
right,
built, these algorithms because they're just happy that they're getting this cool, output or it's making
right,
their life easier or and in the case of, talent acquisition, obviously if people are using AI
right.
to actually submit applications in mass, then that creates potential issues on the other side because how do you now as a recruiter, comb through all of those applications. So I mean there's all kinds of, give and takes and there's a little bit of cat and mouse, games like that we're going to have to, plow through. But ultimately it's a weakest link kind of situation, right? If everyone can upskill and know what the consequences are and think more critically about how they're using technology,
Right.
then we can mitigate the risk and mitigate some of the bad
Right,
actors.
right. And that's going to be, I sort of kiddingly threw down the gauntlet to make this exciting, but you certainly did make the case for why it's essential. All functional units in an organization, finance, IT, HR, needs to rally around this and need to think through it
Yeah.
because it has implications for all of them, but even if your goals aren't entirely aligned. And our goal with AIX again to just get together a broad range of perspectives and create a framework for revealing conversation. We don't have the answers, but it's a place where you can go for answers, engage some of the best minds grappling with these issues, people who are actually on the front lines, the practitioners. And we're going to have panel casts, we're going to have podcasts like this weekly. We're also going to have forums and other ways for people to engage. So we can really build a very vibrant, active, dynamic community, a place you want to come on a daily basis. There are real interesting conversations and conversations that have a real direct bearing on my ability to do work.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's going to be a good outlet. We will absolutely try to provide signal through the noise. And I think it's not just about bringing, the foremost, experts on, or the practitioners, or the, solution providers that are building some of these tools. It's also the, leaders in, nonprofit and perhaps, government agencies to get their perspective. And then we want to hear from, practitioners who are really, walking the talk, and they're, implementing some of these technologies and having success. And, we want to hear from them, because other people want to know. They don't want to just be talked to from a, this is the best way to do it. They want to know, what's it really like trying to implement these kinds
Right.
of things. Because there's a lot of organizations that have really put the kibosh on allowing their employees to use any of these
Right.
tools without the proper controls. But I mean, the last statistics I saw said the majority of companies still haven't even put a policy in place and put some controls in place about when it's appropriate to use these, if they
Right.
let them
Yeah.
use it at all. So that's not a good strategy, right? Because people are going to, find their way around that, either on a secondary device, or if they see other people are moving at a faster pace, they might have an inkling, why that is. And so got to get
Right.
them on board and moving. Start the journey
Yes.
now if you haven't already.
Just in closing, I just want to mention that we are recording this a little over 1 week from HR West 2024, HR.com's premier industry events to be held March 5 and 6 in Oakland, California. We'll be joined by several of our foundational partners in the AIX Pavilion, where we'll be formally announcing the launch of AIX on HR.com. We'll also be discussing our mission and providing a sneak preview of the panelcast, podcasts, and events to come. And Bob, you're going to be leading a half-day workshop. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I think basically I'm going to gauge people's perspective. I mean, I haven't figured out exactly how I'm going to do this little pop quiz for them, but I really want to put people into some basic groups. I want to know who are the doomsdayers, and who are the people who just see incredible opportunity, who are the people who are pragmatic about, their approaches, and how much do they know about how this is going to disrupt things at their organization. But I really want to take them through, the three main pillars of where the AIX community platform is focused, and that, as we alluded to, obviously responsible AI is one of those. AI-driven transformation. How is this really having us rethink and reimagine what work is like as we move forward and our workforces and workplaces evolve? And then hiring for skills and potential. How do we use AI-powered technologies to really see what people are capable of, and find the people that have the most potential for success at our organizations and the roles that we have available. But we also need to rethink, how it helps us, upskill and reskill ourselves so that we are better positioned for our own career development, even if that means taking a nonlinear, path forward, or,
Right.
shifting gears a little bit. But we've got to roll with, what life is bringing us, and this,
Yep.
AI technology is not slowing down. It's not going away. So
No, it is most certainly not. Well, that sounds great, Bob. It's a perfect format, and really looking forward to that half day in Oakland. So this wraps up our maiden AIX podcast. For Bob Pulver, this is Charles Epstein. Thanks for listening. Join us on the next AIX podcast.
Boing, 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 boing.